Okay, so we're diving into Futures Foretold, right? This Tales of Time Lost album. And yeah, but we've got this track list. It's like straight out of sci-fi, and
Yeah.
there's all this buzz about AI. And to top it off, this review calls it a cathartic sonic tapestry. Color me intrigued.
Yeah, no, it's wild how this album kind of sits in this weird intersection, right? You've got post-rock, ambient, and then this whole debate raging about AI and art. Like, it's not just the music, it's everything around it, you know?
Totally. It's like we're, I don't know, listening to the future of music get debated, but like through the music. But okay, before we go full on like existential crisis mode here, let's set the stage for our listeners who might not be familiar with all this. How would you even describe post-rock to someone who's never heard it?
That's a good question. Imagine a movie soundtrack, but like without the movie, you know? So you're talking instrumental music, often pretty epic in scope. It's all about these big dynamic shifts, these huge crescendos, really immersive soundscapes.
So instead of waiting for the verse, chorus, verse thing, you're getting swept away by these waves of instrumental emotion.
Exactly. And that's where that explosions in the sky comparison comes in, right? They're known for those huge guitar-driven anthems, but then layer on those ambient textures you get with someone like Brian Eno, and that's where things get really unique.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to get the picture. It's like those shots from the Hubble telescope, all those nebulae and galaxies, but like translated into sound. Which, speaking of space, this track list, vestiges of a Martian era, Enceladus breeze. I'm getting major sci-fi vibes.
Oh, totally. Super evocative, right. And what's crazy is there aren't even lyrics. It's like Tales of Time Lost is creating this whole narrative, this journey through these cosmic landscapes purely through the music. And then you've got tracks like Melancholic Reverie, which kind of offer this more introspective counterpoint to all those huge
It's
themes.
like they built a whole universe to get lost in,
Yeah.
sonically. And okay, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, or should I say the algorithm in the studio. This whole AI angle is a big part of what people are talking about with this album.
Yeah, it's unavoidable at this point. I mean, you've got folks online calling AI art the death of creativity, an insult to life itself, that kind of thing. And then on the other side, you've got people who are all about it, praising it as the future of music, celebrating its ability to push boundaries. It's a whole thing.
So where does Tales of Time Lost, the artist, actually stand in all of this?
Well, the interesting thing is, they don't shy away from it at all. Like, they've addressed the AI stuff pretty directly online. They get the concerns, especially about this idea of AI-generated one-click content flooding the art world.
Yeah, because if it's just a matter of typing in a few words and letting a machine spit out an album,
Yeah.
where does that leave, like, actual human creativity?
Right, exactly. But what Tales of Time Lost is saying is that their process is way, way more nuanced than that. They see AI as more of a collaborator, almost like a tool to help break through those creative blocks, those moments where you're stuck, and discover new sonic possibilities.
It's more about expanding what's humanly possible, not replacing the human element altogether.
Exactly. Think of it like a painter, right? A really skilled painter can create incredible things with the right brushes and pigments. So AI, in this case, is kind of like a new kind of brush. It's a tool to create textures and effects that traditional instruments just, like, can't achieve.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. It's not about the tool itself, it's how you use it. But there's this detail you shared. I found it really intriguing.
Hmm.
Apparently, Tales of Time Lost, they intentionally leave certain imperfections in the music that come from the AI.
See, and that's where it gets really interesting because then it's like challenging this whole idea of what we even consider perfect in art, you know? Like
Yeah.
they're saying, hey, this is a collaboration. This is what happens when you bring human and artificial intelligence together.
So instead of hiding the AI, they're highlighting it, almost like a statement about how the lines between human and machine are getting blurrier. But, okay, enough conceptual talk for now. I want to dive into the actual sonic experience. This review raves about Enceladus Breathes. What makes this track so special?
Enceladus Breathes is like a masterclass in atmosphere. Imagine this. You've got these delicate piano chords, almost hesitant, like single droplets of water falling into a still pond. And then these shimmering ethereal synths start to emerge, and it creates this sense of these vast, icy landscapes, bathed in starlight.
Ooh, I can practically feel the chill. It's like one of those breathtaking shots from a space documentary, but just with sound.
Exactly. And then just when you're settling into that serene vibe, things start to shift. You hear these distorted guitars creeping in, and they add this layer of tension, like something massive is stirring beneath the surface of all that ice. And it's that tension that just like pulls you in, you know? They really know how to work those dynamics, holding back, then letting those guitars just soar.
A real slow burn, but when it ignites. Whoa, boy. We've been talking about all this cosmic grandeur, but the track list also has melancholic reverie. Even just the title feels like a bit of a change of pace.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Enceladus Breeze is all about those vast landscapes, Melancholic Reverie is like turning inward. It's exploring those quieter, more introspective spaces, but like inside ourselves.
I like that. After all that sonic intensity, gotta have a moment to breathe, right? What's the sound like on this one?
Picture this. You've got this single piano melody, and it's played so delicately, almost like whispers in the dark. There are these little touches of reverb, maybe a distant chime here and there, but nothing that overpowers that piano melody. Super intimate.
It's like they're saying that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones told quietly, simply.
Totally. Melancholic Reverie is like the perfect example of that. It's a track that sneaks up on you, reveals its layers slowly, and then it just kind of stays with you.
It makes you wonder, did Tales of Time Lost plan it that way? Sequencing those tracks like that. Because the contrast you get, going from the hugeness of Enceladus Breeze to this quiet intimacy, it's really something.
It's definitely intentional. This
Yeah.
isn't just a random collection of tracks. It's a curated experience. It's a journey with these peaks and valleys, moments of reflection, and then those big cathartic releases.
Speaking of catharsis, that review we talked about called the title track, Futures Foretold. Haunting and strangely comforting, all at the same time. Kind of contradictory, but I kind of get it. What's happening in this track?
Futures Foretold, that's where those spoken word parts we mentioned really come in. Imagine a lone cello, and the melody is haunting, almost mournful. And then over that, you get these distorted, almost whispered phrases, like something out of a dream or maybe a nightmare.
Okay, yeah, the spooky cello vibes. I am here for it. It's amazing how expressive an instrument can be, even without any lyrics.
And that's what's so cool about this whole album, about post-rock in general. It lets the listener bring their own emotions, their own interpretations to it. And then those spoken word parts in Futures Foretold, they just add this whole other layer to that.
Like, they're giving us these glimpses into this future world, but it's up to us to fill in the blanks. We've talked a lot about how Tales of Time Lost uses AI, but do they ever say how they use it on these tracks? Like, is it melodies, rhythms?
Yeah, that's the mystery. They're deliberately kind of vague about the specifics.
What we do know is that they feed these little snippets of music into the AI, like just these tiny bits, maybe 15, 20 seconds long.
So it's like giving the AI a handful of musical Legos and then seeing what it builds.
Exactly. And then they take those structures, those raw materials, and shape them into these fully fleshed out compositions. They've talked about stress testing, AI music generation, using it to get unstuck creatively to find new sonic avenues, stuff they might not have found on their own.
It's like they're exploring uncharted musical territory, and the AI is their guide.
Yeah.
But I have to keep coming back to this idea of intentionality in art. If the AI is the one coming up with those first ideas, does that take away from what the human artist is doing? That's the big question this whole album makes you think about, right?
Wow.
And there are no easy answers. Some folks might say that the human touch is still what matters most, that the artist is the one making the choices, shaping the music.
Yeah, like the difference between taking a photograph and creating a painting. They're both valid art forms, but the level of control, the intentionality, it's different.
Right. But then there's the whole other side, which says that AI, by its very nature, brings in this element of randomness, of unpredictability. And that can lead to things you would never have expected, things that could be groundbreaking.
So it's less about control, more about embracing the unknown. Those happy accidents that happen when humans and AI work together. Man, this is getting deep.
And that's the beauty of Futures Foretold. This isn't just an album you put on in the background. It makes you think, makes you engage with these huge questions about art, technology, even what it means to be human when those lines are getting blurrier and blurrier.
It's more than just an album. It's a conversation starter. Okay, but enough philosophizing for now. We've still got more tracks to get through, more sonic worlds to explore. What else stood out to you from the material we have?
Oh, there's this comment. It was from someone who went to a listening party for the album, and they said it was like floating through a dream, which, knowing how Tales of Time Lost uses AI, that just adds this whole other layer, don't you think?
Floating through a dream. Yeah, I get that. Especially with some of these tracks pushing past, like, the 20-minute mark, right? It's not exactly background music. It's the kind of thing that really demands your attention.
And that's totally intentional. Like,
Yeah.
this album is meant to be something you really absorb, not just something you throw on while you're, I don't know, doing the dishes or whatever. Remember how that review called it a sonic tapestry? That's exactly what's going on here. Each sound, each element, it's all woven together to create this crazy immersive experience.
So it's not just about the individual songs. It's about how they all fit together, how they create this whole world, this whole sonic world you can just get lost in.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like, I don't know, walking through an art exhibit, right? You wouldn't just glance at each painting or sculpture in isolation. You think about how they're arranged, how they play off of each other, how they all come together to create the overall effect. It's like that with this album, it's all connected.
Makes sense. So we've got these epic moments, these quiet moments, and then this AI influence running through it all, right?
Yeah.
What's the final takeaway? Why should our listeners check out Futures Foretold?
Because it's really pushing the boundaries of what music can even be these days, you know? It's like a sonic exploration of the future and all these huge questions we have about, I don't know, technology, art, what it means to be human in a world where those lines are getting blurrier every day.
And it's doing all that without any lyrics at all, which is pretty wild when you think about it, to pack that much thought, that much emotion into these instrumental pieces.
It's proof that music doesn't need words, that it can connect with us on this whole other level, a purely visceral level. So yeah, whether you're a post-rock diehard or you've never even heard the term before, give Futures Foretold a shot. It'll stay with you.
It's a sonic journey. It's a conversation starter. It's a glimpse into the future of, like, creativity itself. And on that note, I think it's time for all of us to go experience Futures Foretold. Thanks for diving deep with us.